For 22 years, I made hit television shows. Sons of Anarchy, Homeland, Dynasty, Intervention, 60 Days In, over 100 shows. $2 billion in entertainment value, 4 Emmy nominations. And you know what I learned? Best shows that succeeded? They weren't the best shows, but they were the only shows. Dynasty wasn't the best reality show, but it was the only show about a millionaire redneck family with a duck call empire. 60 Days In wasn't the best show about the criminal justice system, but it was the only show where regular people went undercover in real jails for 60 days. And for 22 years, I used this framework to make every show unforgettable. I just didn't know it was a framework. I didn't know what to call it. Until now. Today, I'm going to show you the complete only framework. That's O.N.L.Y, the same framework I used for 22 years in Hollywood, and how you can use it to become the only in your market. So only stands for O, own your difference. N, narrow your focus. L, lead with your unique story. And Y, you are the category. This week, I've shown you 4 real people who use this framework to become unforgettable. Remember Ben, the pastor who helps people get into homes when they feel like they can never own a home? Remember Asaf, the Israeli cactus fruit who solves problems in 15 minutes that others can't solve in 6 hours? Do you remember Christian, the strategist who believes your passion should never be your paycheck? And Carl, the AI architect who prevents the $2.1 million mistake. Each of them used the only framework, and each one of them became impossible to compete with. So today, I'm going to show you how to do the same. You ready? All right, the first letter is O, own your difference. Most people think their difference is a problem. You try to hide it. You try to fit in. I know you, but your difference is your $2 bill. Ben, so he's a pastor, but he's also a real estate investor, and he's also a banker. And most people would say, pick one. You can't be all 3, Ben. But I told Ben, it's not your problem. That's your $2 bill. Because when you own your difference, you stop competing and you start dominating. For 22 years in Hollywood, I worked on shows that owned their difference. Dynasty owned their redneck millionaire identity. 60 Days In owned the regular people in real jails premise, and Intervention owned a raw, unfiltered approach to addiction on television. And you know what? Every single one of the shows was criticized at first. Dynasty, too redneck. 60 Days In, what are you doing? That's too dangerous. You're putting them in danger. Intervention, oh, that's too dark. I don't want to be watching that. I'm sorry. But that's exactly what made them unforgettable. So here's the question. What's your difference? What makes you weird? What makes you different? What makes you stand out? Because when you own your difference, you become the only. All right, so the second letter, we had O. So now the second letter is N. Narrow your focus. Most people think they need to be everything to everyone. But when you try to be everything to everyone, you become important to no one. Asaf, he's a real estate investor in Albany. He owns 100 properties. He's been renting to college students for 25 years. And he said something on our call that stopped me. He said, I'm a shark in a pond. He could have moved to New York City. He could have competed with $7 billion landlords, but he didn't. He stayed in Albany. He dominated his pond. And you know what? He is crushing it. For over 20 years in Hollywood, I worked on shows that narrowed their focus. Dynasty wasn't just a regular show about business owners. It was about that one particular family that we all know. 60 Days In wasn't just about jail life and people in jails. It was about specific jails with specific people with a specific format. And Intervention just wasn't addiction television. It was a very specific format to help individuals find the path to sobriety. And that's what made them unforgettable. So here's the question: who's your ideal client? Who do you serve best? Who do you want to work with? Because when you narrow your focus, you stop being invisible and you start being unforgettable. All right, so we got the O, the N. Now we're on to the L, the third letter. Lead with your unique story. Most people think their story isn't interesting, right? You lead with your credentials? Do you lead with your resume? But that story that you have, that's your $2 bill. Christian became a ski instructor at 19 because he wanted to ski 100 days a year. He thought, get paid while doing what you love, right? But then he realized when you turn your passion into your paycheck, you kill the passion. And that's his story. That's his $2 bill. Nobody can compete with that. For over 20 years in Hollywood, I worked on shows that led with story. Dynasty led with the story of a millionaire redneck family. 60 Days In led with the story of regular people going undercover in real jails. And Intervention led with the story of families fighting for their loved ones. That's what made them unforgettable. So here's the question: what's your unique story? Is it an unexpected career pivot, a contrarian belief, a failure that taught you something nobody else knows? Because when you lead with your unique story, you stop being forgettable. You start being unforgettable. The fourth and final letter is Y. So we got the O, the N, the L, and now the Y. You are the category. Most people think they need to compete in an existing category. But when you become the category, you stop competing and you start dominating. Carl's got 42 years of experience. He's watched businesses miss the internet revolution, fumble mobile, and botch cloud migration. And he said, I'm not letting you make the same $2.1 million per year mistake with AI. Carl didn't position himself as another AI consultant. He positioned himself as the category to help you not lose money. And you know what? Nobody can compete with that. And for over 20 years in Hollywood, I worked on shows that created their own category. Dynasty wasn't a reality show about business owners. It was the only show about a millionaire redneck family with the duck call empire. 60 Days In wasn't a show about the criminal justice system. It was the only show where regular people went undercover in real jail for 60 days. And Intervention wasn't just a show about addiction. It was the only show where families staged interventions to save their loved ones. That's what made them unforgettable. So here's the question: what category do you own? Are you trying to be the best in your category? Are you creating your own category that nobody else can compete in? Because when you become the category, you stop competing. You start dominating. So let me tell you my story. For over 20 years, I made hit television shows. I worked at Fox 21, A&E. You've heard some of my shows. I'll repeat it again. Sons of Anarchy, Homeland, Dynasty, Intervention, 60 Days In. Then I left the day-to-day of the W2 world. I left to help entrepreneurs do what I did for television shows. Become the only, not the best. And for a year, I showed up every day. I posted on social media. I created content. I told stories. You've seen me. And you know what kept coming back to me? 3 things. Brad, you're the only person who's applying TV principles to personal branding. Brad, you're the only person who's talking about being the only, not the best. Brad, you're the only person who has this $2 bill message. That's when I realized I've been using the O.N.L.Y framework my entire life, personal and professional. Just didn't have a name for it. I didn't know that I could help you with it. So I created the O.N.L.Y statement generator, 8 questions that help you uncover your O.N.L.Y statement. Findyouronly.app. And now I'm helping entrepreneurs like Ben, Asif, Christian, Carl, Debbie, so many others become the O.N.L.Y in their market. So here's what I want you to do. You got to go to findyouronly.app. That's findyouronly.app. Answer 8 questions, and you are going to get your only statement. It's free, takes 8 minutes, and it will change how you see yourself. Because you don't need to be the best, you just need to be the only.